Questions orales, oral questions.
Oh, hello. Do you have a warrant to be here?
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
WTF.
Here, here.
Hey everyone, quiet down. There's a bulletin on TV.
It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
The one we call Canadians.
But let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right, elbows up.
Elbows up.
Hey gang, what's up? Just Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. We have issues in Canada, right? Unless you're completely head in the sand, be aware of this.
Oh, yeah.
And now, oral questions, questions orales.
Oral questions, questions orales.
Let's see what's happening in the House of Commons right now. Clown circus at the sausage factory. Let's go.
All right, gang, we're going to lead off with Pierre Poilievre's quick speech from this morning, and then we've got some great stuff, great content from what went down in the committee meetings. Hi there, Aaron, Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe. I'd like to thank all the viewers, the audience. We hit 35,000 subscribers today. That might be small on some people's scale. It blows my mind. Anyhow, thank you all so much. Like, share, subscribe. We've got a hell of a show coming up. We will slip right into question period. Right when it's starting, we won't waste any of your time. The best things that happened in the House or in Parliament today, we've got coming up. Like, we have two of the worst ministers being just grilled in committee. It's going to be a fun show, but we're opening up with Pierre. Let's kick it off.
Mortgaged your house. You took risks. You stayed up late, wondering how you'd pay the bills. Finally, after all that, a success. A wonderful business with 30 to 50 people, growing every day. And suddenly the phone rings. On the other end of the line, someone is threatening that if you don't pay millions of dollars to a gang, your house will be burned down, your children's bedroom will be shot up in the middle of the night, or your employees may be killed. Sounds like an extreme case, but now it has become the norm. Radical open door and open border policies by Liberals have allowed gangsters to visit this country, gaining visitor visas granted them without any criminal background checks. Catch and release laws passed by this Liberal government under C5, which lower the jail sentence for extortion with a gun, have caused the extortion crisis across this country. To put it in perspective, since this Liberal government took office, extortion is up 330%. In British Columbia, it's up 400%. In the Lower Mainland, it's up 500%. Countless families have received those threatening phone calls. Just the other day, I met with the sons of a lifelong successful businessman who was mercilessly killed by gangsters without any provocation. People are living in terror in places like Surrey, Northeast Calgary, parts of Edmonton, Brampton, Windsor, and elsewhere. Over the weekend, I attended events at numerous businesses where literally dozens of people have told me they have personally received the threatening phone calls. And so they lie awake at night wondering if a bullet will fly through their children's front window, or if they will be gunned down when they walk out the door. This crisis was entirely avoidable, but Liberal policies have provoked it. They have released the extortionists into the streets with lower prison sentences. They have brought foreign gangsters and criminals to our shores by granting visitor visas and opening up our country to terror. After much pressure from Conservatives, they finally agreed to ban the Bishnoi group, but too late. They let the Bishnoi gangsters into this country in the first place because they do not protect our borders, and their radical policies on immigration have endangered many of the very people who came here lawfully and legitimately. Mr. Speaker, if you look at these facts and you look at the numbers, you have no choice but to conclude that we have a Liberal extortion emergency in this country, that people are living in terror. And it is a shame that Liberals have allowed this crisis to form and grow. It is a shame that the very communities who have vested support in the Liberal Party are now the ones who are paying the biggest price for the violence and carnage that Liberal policies now unleash. And so we as Conservatives state clearly that extortion is a crisis after 10 years of Liberals, that we need an emergency debate to address this extortion crisis, and that we must enact a serious plan to end the extortion so that Canadian small business owners can go back to living their lives, creating jobs, serving customers, making life affordable again to this country. Our plan is very clear. Mandatory jail time to lock up and throw away the key for extortionists. Stronger borders to keep and kick extortionists out of our country. And a clear self-defense law so that people can protect themselves in their homes when invaded by extortionists or other burglars. Mr. Speaker, this is an emergency. We have the answer. Let us restore safety, tranquility, and peace to our streets.
I thank the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for his intervention. However, I'm not satisfied that this request meets the requirements of the standing orders at this time.
We'll go first to the...
All right, we're going to do one round here, a quick one with Michael Cooper, just because it's a great way to kick off the show. But then we're going to get into Heidi Fry, Marjorie Michel, and Lena Diab they're all just getting roasted in committee. We're going to watch this with Cooper first, but then we have some great pieces.
Conservatives and Mr. Cooper for 6 minutes, please.
Let's
go. Thank you to the witnesses, Mr. Chair. Welcome back, Professor Turnbull. I'll turn it to you. You cited some logistical challenges with regards to special ballot voting for Canadians living abroad. I would submit that there may be another issue, which is a gap, and I'd be interested in your thoughts as it pertains to the application process. The riding in which a Canadian living abroad votes in is determined based on their last address before leaving Canada. Now, the application for registration for Canadians living abroad requires proof of identity to establish Canadian citizenship, but nowhere in the application does it require a prospective elector to provide proof of their last place of residence in Canada. Would you agree that the application process should be amended to require some form of proof of the last place of residence?
I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't. I don't see how that would make it any... Like, I'm just thinking, would it make it any more difficult? Because the value is you want to make sure that Canadian citizens can vote. And you don't want to do anything that would make it more difficult for someone who's eligible to get access to the ballot. So if someone had recently moved outside the country, they might have, readily available proof of where they last lived in Canada. But If they had moved a while ago, it might be harder for them to find that. If it was a student living with parents, they wouldn't have a deed with their name on the house, but so they might have to prove for, like, what would they provide in terms of proof to show that they lived in Canada if there were no bills in their name, that sort of thing. Like, I think we'd have to think through the logistics to make sure that nobody was denied the right. But apart from that, I don't see why we wouldn't require proof.
Yeah, and I certainly take your point about the fact that there could be some challenges for those Canadians who may not have lived in Canada for some time. But every elector living in Canada, voting in Canada, has to provide one piece of ID with their address, or two pieces of ID with at least one of those showing their address, or have someone vouching for them who must establish their address. So there seems to be a bit of inconsistency there, and I guess if you can't establish proof of your last place of residence, then what is there to say that there are electors who are, for example, randomly selecting ridings, strategically selecting ridings for any number of reasons? I mean, it would seem to me that that is a gap. There needs to be some sort of verification, because by law, it's not as if a Canadian living abroad can vote in any riding. By law, they can only vote in the riding that they last had residence in.
Right, I agree with you. It seems like it's sort of matching the requirements that would apply to someone who lives in Canada and making it basically the same for someone who lives outside. I remember it being part of the discussion, just kind of part of the public discussion, 10 years ago when this was going through the court system, and maybe maybe fewer years than that, and people talking about where would expats vote. And it wasn't necessarily obvious. And I remember it coming up, right? Like, what if everybody just wants to vote in Prime Minister Trudeau's riding because they know his name and they want to go and cast a ballot for him? So there were those policy discussions of what's the appropriate place to cast a ballot, especially if you haven't lived here for a long time. So I think you're right. I think I would agree with you.
Thank you for that. Professor Kovasakova, I hope I got that right. Is it correct that over the past 20 years there has been a significant increase in voter participation by Canadians living abroad?
Yes, thank you for that question. Yes, in terms of actual numbers, more Canadians abroad do vote in federal elections. I'm sure that the 2019 Supreme Court ruling has quite a bit to do with that as well. But in terms of the percentage of the people who request the ballot and actually cast it, the percentage has slowly gone down. So I believe that in 2015, the percentage of people who requested a ballot and then actually cast the vote from abroad was 69%. That percentage has slowly gone down to, I believe, 52 by 2025.
Yeah, but it has significantly gone up from 2004, where I thought there was something in the order of 7,000 or 9,000 ballots cast, and it was in the order of tens of thousands before the Supreme Court decision.
Yes, I believe in 2004 the number was around 10,000, like 9,000 plus. But of course, we have to account for the fact that the number of Canadians living abroad is growing. And so over time, of course, we have seen more and more Canadians vote. But if you look at, the final number from the last election, which is 57,000 Canadians, it really depends on how you look at that. That number could be quite small when you look at the fact that over 4 million Canadians live abroad, right? And so it really depends on what you compare it to. Certainly, in terms of external votes cast by other nationals, Canadians from abroad vote less than, for example, those from the United States.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. We'll now turn to...
Just before the clock starts.
All right, gang, this one is off the hook. Like, we've got Haiti Fry here. She's older than Yoda. I think they broke up, though. And we've got Lena Diab and Marjorie Michel, who are they're just straight up stupid people. Like, I don't think Heidi Fry's stupid. I think that she's aged out and was always a little woke that way. But Marjorie Michelle and Lena Diab, it's embarrassing. Watch this. We've got a whole bunch of segments here. We'll probably just cut right to question period from here, but we're going to let this run. We've got lots of it. It's outrageous.
To begin, pardon?
Just before the clock starts.
Is it a point of order, Mr. Major?
Just point of clarification. Both ministers can be here for the full 2 hours?
Yes.
Up to 1 o'clock.
Yes,
Perfect.
I sent you a note saying that, Mr. Major.
Things changed. I just want confirmation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we begin. For 6 minutes, please, Mr. Major from the Conservatives.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, ministers, for coming here today. Who is responsible for ensuring that immigration levels match healthcare capacity? Is it you, Minister Diab, or Minister Michelle?
So certainly as the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, my role hopefully is sort of clear and understood by now, and it is to manage our immigration system by, we just put a levels plan together, which is something that is done on a yearly basis, that we have targets for permanent residents, temporary residents. We now have an attraction strategy and francophone targets.
But who is responsible for the immigration levels to match healthcare capacity? Is it either one of you?
Okay, so the way it works is immigration is a shared provincial, territorial,
yes
federal jurisdiction, and so we work with the provinces and territories with respect to that.
Minister Diab, do you consider Canada's existing healthcare capacity before setting federal immigration levels?
So we have extensive consultations that happen. I personally did some as well all summer long, and part of that, those takes in stakeholders from the healthcare sector.
You do consider it?
Of course, everything is considered.
How many more patients can our healthcare system handle this year, according to your department's analysis?
Oh, that's not a fair question for immigration.
But, Minister, you just said you do consider it, so you must do some analysis.
So what I said is we have extensive consultations that occurs on a yearly basis when we set our target levels for permanent residency and temporary residency, and we take all the stakeholders' views, most importantly provinces, territories, municipal partners, economists, and and everyone in the many different industry stakeholders.
Do you know if your department does this analysis? Does the analysis for the immigration levels?
Yeah, a lot of our the information that we get related to the healthcare system is in fact in working closely with the provinces.
So you do analysis, or you don't?
We ask capacity questions to our provincial counterparts. They provide some of that information to us. What we did here overwhelmingly during our consultations that where people were looking to use immigration to bring in healthcare workers.
So you don't know how many more patients can be served according to your any more? You don't have any analysis of that, of how many more patients can be served due to immigration?
So again, the answer is pretty clear from my part. The extensive consultation we've done from many across the country was the question that was raised is how can IRCC facilitate and open pathways and work with provinces and territories to bring in healthcare workers.
We'll get on to the next question.
Will you allow the witness to answer the question?
Well, she wasn't answing. So
well, that's not your decision.
And then she took a new question. So that's
Witnesses
okay.
can answer
question.
how they choose. Thank you.
Minister Diab, how many Canadians don't have access to a family doctor in Canada right now?
I'm going to turn that over to the healthcare, but again, that's a provincial. I come from Nova Scotia. These are tracked, and I used to be a provincial member of the legislature and a provincial minister. Those numbers are tracked provincially, territorially. I believe the committee knows that, and I think most Canadians do.
So you know, though?
Well, I'm a federal minister,
and you don't know.
I can go on the websites and check for you if you'd like.
Minister Michelle, how many Canadians don't have access to a family doctor right now? Just the number, please.
16.
Minister Michelle, I'm asking you.
5.7, 6 million, around 6 million people. Around 6 million, 5.7, exactly.
The government plans to admit over 450,000 permanent residents into Canada this year. Can you confirm that every newcomer admitted under the immigration plan will have access to a family doctor upon arrival? Yes or no?
So the number's not accurate. Our 2025 permanent residence number is 325,000. But do you mind asking your question again?
Can you confirm if every newcomer admitted under your immigration plan will have access to a family doctor upon arrival? Yes or no?
So many that are arriving are doctors and physicians and clinicians and nurses and healthcare providers themselves who are actually here to service Canadians.
Minister Diab, are you aware
47 seconds.
Are you aware that Canada's population is growing faster than the supply of family doctors? Yes or no?
Well, we have 41 million plus in population. I'm pretty sure we don't have 41 million doctors.
It's the supply of family doctors. So in other words, we're immigrating more. You are immigrating more people than there are family doctors to be able to serve Canadians.
We can ask the analysts about that, the stats on that.
So when the population grows faster than the number of family doctors, access to care gets worse. Can you agree on that?
You've got 5 seconds left.
I think it depends on people's age and health and so on. I mean, I've been to many countries around the globe where it's not a question of a doctor to, there's a lot of collaborative care centers as well.
Thank you, Ms.
She's out of control.
What I'd like the members of the committee to please remember that when you ask a question, you should allow for the answer. Thank you. Go to Mr. It's a 5-minute round once again.
It just keeps going, guys.
Questions and answers. And
it gets heated too. It gets hot.
Conservatives. 5 minute, please, Helena.
Not that kind of hot.
Minister Michel, given many communities in my riding and throughout Canada face sudden and unexpected ER closures due to doctor shortages, would you agree with me that a shortage of doctors and nurses is creating a rural health care crisis in Canada? Yes or no?
I think everywhere in Canada we have challenges, and of course in remote communities,
she's a voodoo woman.
Even more challenges.
So is it a crisis in rural communities, Minister?
I think the health system is under big pressure all across the country. I would talk also about the northern communities
in crisis.
And the remote communities.
Yeah, northern and rural.
Yes.
Okay, in crisis. Minister, according to the College of Physicians, Minister Michel, according to the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada, there are currently at least 13,000 internationally trained doctors currently in Canada, but not working as doctors. Not working as doctors in Canada. Is that number correct?
If they are showing it, I feel it's quite correct. But what I would say, it's on the provinces and territories also.
It is
to make
correct.
Sure that
okay, so 13,000 are not working as doctors. Minister, your briefing note in June said 198,000 internationally educated health professionals employed in Canada are employed in Canada, but 42% or 80,000 do not have employment in a medical field. Are those numbers correct?
Are they correct?
Mr. Orenza?
I believe the figures are there are 198,000 internationally educated health professionals employed in Canada. About 60% of these individuals were working in the fields they were trained for. So it's a 60%.
So 60% are working in their fields, Minister? Or not working in their field?
They are.
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Oh, so 60% are working in the field.
60% are working.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Minister, we've heard from many internationally trained doctors. Actually, this is for Minister Diab, please. We've heard from many internationally trained doctors that they felt cheated by Canada's immigration system, with the government prioritizing licensing those 13,000 trained doctors, as well as many nurses and medical professionals already living within Canada. Would they prioritize those 13,000 trained doctors that are living within Canada before it seeks to approve greater number of immigrant doctors to come into a system basically that isn't working? Yes or no?
Are you referring to the doctors already in Canada?
Yes. Would you prioritize them before bringing more in? Because the system is not, obviously, you both agree it's not working.
I wouldn't agree that it's not working. I would agree that we are trying to work faster and better.
So
to
you
the
would prioritize
immigration
the
system.
13,000?
We also, for those that are coming new, we have strengthened our pre-arrival support services
So
in
you
order
would say
for
it's
them.
working then? 13,000 are not.
Look, I've been in the immigration field now for 12 years, provincially and now federally. I've seen things work better than they were working a decade and 2 years ago.
But would you say, I mean, if we can't get the health professionals already in Canada to work in their field, how is adding more to the backlog going to help?
So again, as I said, we've strengthened our pre-arrival services. We also work with partners, settlement partners here, in order for them to help them recognize their credentials faster. We're working with provinces and territories, streamlining
Thank
how
you,
they do it,
Minister.
and with the licensing bodies, of course.
Okay, thank you. So, Minister Michel,
30 seconds.
On the Foreign Credential Recognition Action Fund, the budget says it will run with a focus on health, and it'll cost taxpayers $97 million over 5 years. What's the per-year target of medical credentials you intend this fund to recognize? Just the number. How many will this $97 million bring in or recognize?
Work with provinces and territories to deliver on that program.
So, but you must know how many.
Time is up.
You must know how many?
I think the minister can answer that another time. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up. Ms.
Thank
Sadu,
you.
for the
Your
Liberals,
time's up.
5 minutes. I now go to Mr. Bailey for 5 minutes, please, for the Conservatives.
Thank you. Minister Diab, while there are roughly 80,000 foreign-trained medical professionals in this
Nothing
country
like
now
it.
working in healthcare, a recent news article confirmed that there are licensed practicing doctors in Canada today that have various suspensions or outright bans in other jurisdictions due to misconduct or malpractice. My question is a yes or no, when someone lies on their immigration form or during the process to be accepted into Canada, is that considered immigration fraud? Yes or no, please? Immigration fraud, yes or no, please?
If somebody lies on their immigration papers to come into Canada, those obviously there's security process, and there's if it's a fraudulent claim and if it's misrepresentation, they're definitely dealt with by CBSA. Absolutely.
A recent news article pointed to an investigation that uncovered doctors in Canada were practicing with reprimands, suspensions, or outright revocations of their licenses in other countries. In the past 10 years, how many people have been admitted into Canada by the Federal Immigration Department with suspensions or revoked medical licenses in other countries?
Suspensions, revocations of medical, all of that is handled by licensing bodies and health.
Don't know. It's okay. You don't know.
And the provinces. I mean,
if you don't know the number, why would you authorize the continuation of a system that you admit is kind of fraudulent when these people are entering in our country and not being truthful?
Again, don't know what people you're talking about or what specific people you're talking about.
Okay,
We're
well,
here to talk about our immigration system,
sure.
but also our
One of the
foreign,
examples is an article involving a doctor that was publicly reprimanded and fined in Florida for potentially lethally overprescribing in 2018. A public record that takes 30 seconds to find on Google. Why did your immigration department wave him through without catching the fraud that a journalist found? And that's without government resources.
cases are dealt with appropriately by IRCC, CBSA, CSIS, screening departments, officers, and if it's to do with health and licensing bodies, then obviously we defer to licensing bodies, provincial, territorial jurisdictions. They're the ones who, policing, who are also governed by provinces and territories.
Thank you. Yeah. Minister, yes or no, does the Immigration Department currently require a simple basic search of the U.S. National Practitioner Databank or the UK GMC sanctions list, for example, before granting entry or permanent residency to an individual with reprimands or license suspensions? If the answer is no, how is that not deliberate negligence?
So if you're asking if a person that's coming to practice medicine, that's what the licensing bodies and the employers who are the hospitals or the institutions, that is their role in terms of verifying all of these before the individual is able to practice in Canada.
So we don't double check. So Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada justifies failing to mandate independent verification in express entry for medical professionals, effectively allowing those evading bans abroad to exploit Canada's skilled worker stream. And I can read the question again if you like.
Sorry, Mr. Burton. I don't think the minister asked for that. Go ahead, Minister.
So thank you for that. Sure. Again, if I speak on my personal experience as a provincial minister, I was in Ireland and UK, and at the time I was recruiting doctors, and I took with me the College of Physicians. I took with me the hospital director from the hospital who was the employer, and and that's what their job were. That's what we were there as facilitators from the immigration department. But all of that work gets done by the licensing bodies, by the employers who are the hospitals. There are many players when we're talking about the health professionals, particularly doctors and the likes of what you are referring to. This is not something just that somebody in IRCC conducts. It's a whole of system approach.
Thank you. Yeah, and
thank you, Mr. Burton. You have 9 seconds.
When refugees come, we do criminal record checks. But when we are recruiting medical professionals, we just leave it up to the provinces. And that's probably why we have 80,000 medical professionals that are not currently employed.
Anyone coming to Canada would not be admissible unless they pass the criminality check.
Thank you. I now go to, I'm sorry, the time is up. I now go to the Liberals, Ms. Chi. No. And we begin with Mr. Strauss from the Conservatives for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's nice to see Minister Michel again. Minister Diab, welcome to the committee. My questions are from Minister Diab and they're regarding the interim federal health program. So it's my understanding that the cost of this program has ballooned about 30% year over year to $900 million. And this program covers asylum claimants. It is also my understanding that the number of asylum claimants covered by this program has increased to 440,000 from about 350,000 last year. So some questions regarding this. Do you anticipate that this number is going to go up, the 900 million that we're spending on this program and the 440,000 asylum claimants next year?
Excuse me, I would like to clarify, Minister. Let's be sure this relates to the study. Mr. Strauss, and
this is the interim
just an immigration question. Thank you.
Yes, this has to do with asylum claimants being covered. Like it's directly to do with immigration and health.
I didn't get that. It's their being covered that you're concerned about. Thank you.
Yes, it's health coverage.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Chair. So I will go back to the numbers in a second because I'll ask staff to help me. But it's a good question. The good news here is that the asylum numbers have dropped significantly for 2025. That's good news. And in terms of the health coverage in the budget that we just introduced, there's also some conditions in there where there will be some changes done to that as well for the coverage.
How much has the asylum claimants decreased this year?
Do we have the numbers?
So from January to September of this year, 33% fewer people have committed or submitted an asylum claim in Canada compared to last year.
So that 100,000 person increase hopefully is on its way down. Of the 100,000, I'll put it this way. How many asylum claims were either withdrawn, abandoned, or finalized last year? And of those, what percent were accepted?
Asylum claims?
Asylum claims, yeah.
That would not be, that would be IRB, the Immigration Refugees Board stats. And from what I heard from other testimony in previous, it's all public on their site. My understanding, stand to be corrected, but it wouldn't be in IRCC when you're talking about claim when you're talking about claims.
So you're not the minister who looks after asylum claims and their adjudication.
On the decisions, it would be the IRB, the which is an independent body from.
Okay, because I guess my concern is you're covering these folks with the IFHP, but you're not sure what percent of these claimants end up being true or false, basically.
So the interim, Heather, the interim program, it does provide temporary health coverage to address these, urgent and essential needs for refugees and asylum claimants. It's also for refugees as well, not just for asylum, right? And refugees
but
are people
the majority are asylum claimants who have not yet been adjudicated. So of these asylum claimants, the 440,000 that we're currently covering with the $900 million that has ballooned, it is my understanding that roughly half, from my purview of the IRB website, roughly half will be found to be not true and not accepted. And the word bogus is used for these. So if we're spending $900 million a year on health coverage for folks, half of whom turn out to be not true refugees. Would you have any plan to recoup these health claims once they're made, if their asylum claim is deemed to be false?
So again, by law, international law, Canadian law, any law you want to look into, we are obligated to cover essential health for people. If we don't, even if the law didn't allow it, if you don't, it's going to obviously, I would say it's going to create a lot more problems for Canadians if people are in urgent need and we don't accept them. So it does reduce pressure later on. What I would say is we do have Bill C-12 on, and I urge you and your colleagues to support it because it will help speed up the process of these hearings. That is one of the reasons we're doing that.
But fundamentally, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on health claims for people who are waiting for their asylum claim to be adjudicated, which is your purview. One thing that was really interesting that this committee was told was that anesthetists throughout Canada are billing 5 times more when they perform a surgery on somebody under the IFHP than under the provincial health programs. My association would recommend, my professional association, the Ontario Medical Association, would recommend that we bill 2.5 times more, but it seems like the sky is the limit. So doctors are billing 5 times more than they otherwise would for these claims.
You're going over time. I'm going to have to ask the ministers to answer that question later on. Thank you.
She doesn't ask anything.
Members to remember that
what a demanding
the time
old
is
bag.
5 minutes for questions and answers, and
What
if you want
happened
to
to
pick
her
up that
hair?
time making a speech, fine, but you may not be able to get the answer. The minister can answer that question later on if someone wants to repeat it. Thank you.
This
I'm
next
going to go
round
now
really
to
does
Mr.
get better.
Pulowski
We'll
for the
flip over
Liberals.
to question
For
period after
five
this next round.
I now go to another round, and we begin another 5-minute round, starting with Ms. Conans for the Conservatives.
Okay,
5
it
minutes,
gets heated
please, Ms.
starting right now.
Chair, we got cut off, unfortunately, during my last question round, and I just wanted to ask Minister Michel, The Foreign Credential Recognition Action Fund, in the budget says it will be run with a focus on health. It will cost taxpayers $97 million over 5 years. What is the per target of medical credentials you intend this fund to recognize? Just a number.
Sorry. So what you need to understand is that program, yes, it's for health, but it's developed by ESDC and it's a new funding.
So do you know how many people will be credentialed?
Foreign recognition.
If a question is asked, a witness should be allowed to answer, please. It's just simple respect. Thank you. Ms.
Just
Minister?
a number if you happen to have one. Just because I know it's a focus on health, and it's obviously important to the entire country, this foreign credential recognition. We need doctors. So how many doctors will that allow to practice?
So as I said, this funding is going under ESDC, even if we are talking about health. And ESDC is now working on it and putting, they are developing targets. What I did, and I said it already, is I spoke with my counterparts, all the Minister of Health. Excuse
me, sorry to interrupt, but how much of this will go towards credential recognition for doctors and medical profession? What percentage of the 97 million?
The minister is trying to answer the question, Ms. Carney.
I'm asking for a number. I don't have much time, Chair, and I want to ask if you have a number, because I
already told you.
You obviously have.
Yes, I already told you. The program is designed by ESDC.
Sorry, what is the number?
They are developing targets now.
So
we
how
just
do you know?
got this $97 million.
Okay,
so ESDC is, and we still have a vote tonight.
So there will be,
and again,
one doctor credentialed, 300. You don't know?
You got your answer.
Oh, okay. All right. Dr. Strauss, I will cede the rest of my time to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Minister Diab.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Strauss. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Minister Diab, I had to check. I mean, we all know you as the Minister of Immigration, but you are the Minister of Refugees as well. And so I guess I was dumbfounded when you said that you don't know what % of refugee claims are ultimately accepted in the last round.
I do not. I can go on the website and check, and I'm sure
Maybe you should.
Colleagues can do that. We can definitely follow up with you.
Okay, I mean, that was 20 minutes ago. When somebody's refugee claim is denied, do they continue to receive benefits from IFHP?
No, when it's denied, it follows through the process. Once the process is concluded, it ends.
Okay, and then just turning to the visa trainee issue, do you understand how there's a difference between capacity and funding? So if there's an OR and there's a professor of anesthesia in the OR, he can take a trainee. That trainee can either be from Saudi Arabia or it could be a Canadian. So the funding might come from Saudi Arabia. Maybe we don't have the funding in Canada, but if the Saudi trainee is there, then the capacity to train someone exists in our system. So if the funds aren't there, don't you think, and this might be for Minister Michel, don't you think we should fund it? Like, the capacity is there, the training spot is there, whether it's part of CARMS or it's not. Why don't we fund it instead of dictators in Saudi?
I'm going to turn you to the medical schools, I guess, in the provinces and territories. It's not something that IRCC
have the funding. You've got the bags of money. You're the federal government. And the last thing I want to say is, so you say you don't track, you bring doctors to this country. They expect to work here. You're bringing them here to serve Canadians, and then you don't track whether they actually become doctors or not. Like, I understand that you don't. You said you don't, but shouldn't you? Like,
I know from another hat that I wore in the province, the provinces tracked the doctors. So I can say to you, the provinces and territories probably do, because I used to as a minister provincially, but it's not something IRCC tracked.
But you're the one in charge of bringing them in.
Not the role.
So this committee heard from a constituent of mine, Dr. Pantia Barati. She feels cheated by the Canadian immigration system because she was brought here to be a doctor. She's fully qualified. She flies to England to work every other month. Don't you feel any responsibility to her to figure out, like, why you brought her here when she couldn't obtain a license here, and you're just still giving out more of these immigration permits to thousands and thousands of doctors who aren't allowed to work?
Absolutely, because of reasons like that we are working hard to ensure these types of things do not happen. That is why we have the pre-arrival support services. That is why we put all information on. That is why we ask the individuals to clarify with licensing bodies and have the bodies work with them, as well as the employers at the hospitals.
Excuse
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Order. I'm sorry. This is getting a little bit out of order. If a minister, if someone asks a question, you should not keep speaking while they're answering it. Please, just let's be a little bit respectful in this committee. Thank you. Go ahead, Minister. You are answering the question.
No, it's exactly things that you are referring to that we do not want to happen. And that is why we work extremely hard, whether it's the provincial or the federal, or, to ensure that people have the tools they need and the information they need so that we don't have these happen here. And when they do, yes, it is not.
Thank you, Minister. You're saying you're working hard.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Your time is well over, Mr. Strauss. Now I go to Ms. Sidhu of the Liberals for 5 minutes, please.
Pleased to have this opportunity to rise before the House and speak on Bill C.
Just before we jump into question period, we're going to show a couple of minutes of this piece. It's from Dane Lloyd. He's great, and he's very upset. Let's check it out.
14, an act which seeks to amend the Criminal Code, the Youth Criminal Justice Act, and the National Defense Act. Before I get started with my speech, I think it's really important to talk about the request for emergency debate that the member for Battle River Crowfoot, the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition, brought forward. Extortion is an extremely real issue for people across this country. It's rising and it's unacceptable. In fact, I just received a message from a constituent and I'd like to read it into the record. Hi, Dane. Not sure if you know what we're living through right now in Spring Meadows Estates, which is a community just west of Edmonton in my riding. Our neighbor is a victim of this targeted extortion. His house has been shot up twice now in the last 3 weeks. We live in fear. Don't go out after dark, and if we are out and it's turned dark, we are nervous to come home. I can't believe we're living this way. I shouldn't have to talk about things like this happening in a country like Canada, but this is what my constituents in what was once a peaceful rural community just outside of Edmonton are telling me is happening to them. And I know that the leader of the opposition has been going across the country speaking to business owners about the extortion attacks that they're facing in their communities. And it's clear that after 10 years of this Liberal government that they have failed to tackle this issue of extortion. They've failed to put in the tough penalties needed to protect Canadians. In 2019, the Liberal government passed Bill C-75, which amended the Criminal Code to codify the so-called principle of restraint. This new legislation directed courts to release accused persons at the earliest opportunity with the least onerous conditions. The Liberals even doubled down on this failed legislative approach in 2022 by passing Bill C-5, which repealed mandatory minimum sentences and even allowed house arrest for the most serious of sentences. Minimum sentences were repealed for using a firearm in the commission of an offense, discharging a firearm with intent to harm, extortion involving a firearm, among other things. Folks in my area have been reaching out. They're concerned. As I said, a home was shot up twice. I had to read the news article twice because I thought it was the same article. But in fact, the same property was shot up twice. House arrest is now a consideration for offenses including sexual assault, kidnapping, abduction of a person under 14, theft over $5,000, arson, among others.
All right, so we're going to cross over here to question period. Should be just about ready to go. Sometimes this happens. We cross over and they're speaking in French. It's annoying. Anyhow, here we go.
Even the parliamentary budget officer is against this budget and has stated that the government seems to have forgotten all about its commitment to reduce the debt to GDP ratio. It's pretty clear why the government wants to get rid of him. This prime minister is offering us a blank check, but he is ending up putting our children and grandchildren further in debt. We, the Conservatives, will continue to defend families, workers, businesses, taxpayers, and we will continue to oppose this irresponsible spendthrift government. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert.
La liberté.
Mr. Speaker, freedom is never merely granted. It must be conquered. These are the famous words of General Jean-Jacques Dessalines. On November 18th, 1803, the Battle of Vertières was waged. It was one of the most important battles in modern history. As a federal MP, but also as a son of Haiti, I rise today to speak to the strength, courage, and resilience of the Haitian people. They fought the powerful armies of Napoleon to throw off their shackles and acquire their freedom. The Battle of Vertières embodies the courage, dignity, and determination of the Haitian people. However, since that time, the country has faced challenges that still persist today. With that in mind, Canada's cooperation remains important. As an ally of Haiti, it must support the country, although that support should never replace Haitian leadership. By speaking about the Battle of Vertières, I wish to pay tribute to the heroes of the past.
The Honourable Member for Provencher.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians want stronger paychecks, safer streets, secure borders, and a self-reliant country. They cannot get that from a Prime Minister who puts Brookfield, the company he chaired, first. When the Prime Minister meets Donald Trump, he brings home nothing for Canada, only an $80 billion U.S. nuclear reactor deal for Brookfield, giving Donald Trump the jobs, the investment, and a 20% stake in Westinghouse profits. Canadians get nothing. While chair, the Prime Minister directed Brookfield to avoid $6.5 billion in Canadian taxes through shell companies that he established in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands on top of a bicycle shop. The Prime Minister's inflation tax and industrial carbon tax make groceries even more expensive, while Brookfield's CEO claims that inflation boosts their profits. When the Prime Minister goes abroad, Brookfield gets the deal. When he comes home, Canadians get the bill.
Here, here. The Honourable Member for London West.
I know that I speak for the people of London West when I say that we welcome the passage of the budget, and I want to highlight one of the concrete steps that it takes. One that came out directly from a pre-budget consultation held in my riding, the creation of Canada's Climate Corps. This is a practical, skill-driven program that will train young people, young Canadians for real jobs, Mr. Speaker. Jobs in resilience, emergency response, retrofit, green construction, and community infrastructure. When I met with young people in London West, the message could not have been more clear. They want opportunities that are hands-on, well-paid, and connected to the real needs of our local economy. The Climate Corps delivers exactly that, Mr. Speaker. It links youth in in-demand careers and helps employers fill critical labor shortages. This is what building one strong Canadian economy looks like, by focusing on results, and we are making sure that federal investments land where people actually live. London West helped shape this initiative, and I will make sure that I keep working to ensure that our young people are at the forefront of the line.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, I wish our high-flying Prime Minister coveted results as much as air miles. Since taking office, he's made 28 trips, flying 153,000 kilometers, which is enough to circle the globe 4 times. And he's off again this week, heading to the United Arab Emirates and then South Africa. No surprise from the Prime Minister, who collects passports like Pokemon and identifies as European when he's hanging out in Davos with his fellow global elites. But what do Canadians have to show for this? No trade deals, no tariff relief, just photo ops and hollow letters of intent. He blew past his own deadlines with the United States with no deal. His 8-day junket to Asia, no progress. Chinese tariffs stay, India adds new ones, and not a single tariff lifted on Canadian goods in 8 months. As for accountability, he has appeared in question period just 11 times this fall. If the Prime Minister is this bored of Canada, can he please make his next junket a one-way ticket?
The Honourable Member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Speaker, community foundations across Canada are the heart of our neighbourhoods, bringing people together, pooling resources, and ensuring local needs are met with care and community-led solutions. In my community, the Coquitlam Foundation and the Port Moody Foundation continue to make a tremendous impact through support for the arts, the environment, and youth scholarships and grants. This week, Matthew Sebastiani and foundation leaders from across Canada are here in Ottawa, reminding us of how vital their work is nationwide. To all foundation volunteers, donors, community leaders, thank you for lifting people up. You strengthen families, neighborhoods, and the foundation of who we are as a country. Merci beaucoup.
Oral questions, questions orales.
Here we go.
Leader of the opposition.
All right. Let's go.
Canadians
Français,
needed an affordable
pourquoi?
budget for an affordable life. Canadians can no longer pay.
Oh, that's on them. We'll give it a second.
Creating
There we
more
go.
inflation. According to the PBO, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the Prime Minister has created the largest deficit in Canadian history outside of the pandemic years. It's twice the deficit Justin Trudeau left us with. It's also twice as high as what the Prime Minister promised during the election campaign. That's a broken promise, according to the PBO. There will be $5,000 more inflation for each Canadian family. How are Canadians supposed to pay another $5,000 for a costly, expensive budget? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'm so happy to see that the Leader of the Opposition read the summary of the budget, but we're not going to take any lessons from the Conservatives. Yesterday, the Conservatives voted against infrastructure investment. They voted against investing in housing. The Conservatives voted against innovation and productivity in Canada. And the Conservatives also voted against investing in defence. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will always fight for a strong Canada. We will build a strong Canada together, Mr. Speaker. Today, the Conservatives should be asking themselves the question, why aren't we supporting Canadians? What are Canadians getting in exchange for the Prime Minister's 150,000 kilometers of travel? It's the equivalent of going around the earth 4 times. He met with Americans, and they doubled tariffs on steel and aluminum. He met with people in India. They increased tariffs on chickpeas. He went to China. He met with them, and they increased tariffs on Canadian farmers and fishermen, Mr. Speaker. So why is it that every time the Prime Minister takes a flight abroad to meet with foreign representatives, Canadians pay more tariffs? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, that's the question Canadians are asking themselves. They are wondering, how did the Conservatives dare to vote against Canada yesterday, Mr. Speaker? Because in our budget, Mr. Speaker, we address strengthening Canada's sovereignty. We invest in our military capacity. We are investing in our military. So how can Conservatives explain to their constituents that they voted against Canada yesterday at a time when we all need to band together at this historic time for our nation?
Canadians are cash-strapped and needed a break. Instead, the Prime Minister gave them the costliest budget in Canadian history and put it all on the national credit card. The Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed the Prime Minister doubled Trudeau's deficits, added $16 billion more to the debt than he promised, is increasing the debt to GDP ratio, breaking another promise. $78 billion of additional debt works out to about $5,000 for every single cash-strapped family in this country. How does the Prime Minister expect single moms and seniors and small business people who can't pay their bills to pay another $5,000 for his inflation?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives. Mr. Speaker, what they did yesterday under this leader, they voted against investment in infrastructure. Under this leader, they voted against investment in housing. Under this Conservative leader, they voted against productivity and innovation in our country. Under this leader, they voted against investment in our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we'll build a strong Canada, we'll empower Canadians, and we'll protect our sovereignty because we believe in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. This is coming from $100 more on housing. The results are out today. Housing starts down 17% year over year. Where we need the most in Toronto, down 42% year over year. Vancouver, 36% year over year. Ontario, down 35%. And BC, down 22%. Why is it that the more Liberals spend, the less that we can build?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Leader of the Opposition is ignoring the year-to-date results. He's looking month to month. He's twisting the facts. He's getting confused in the numbers. Conservatives have a tough time with numbers sometimes. We understand that. Year-to-date, 2025 versus 2024, we are up 5% with housing starts.
Leader of the Opposition.
What are Canadians getting for the 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers, enough to circle the world 4 times that the Prime Minister's billed back to Canadians? Well, he met with the Americans, and they doubled tariffs on our steel, aluminum, autos, and tripled them on our forestry. He met with the Chinese, who increased tariffs on our farmers and fish harvesters. He met with the Indians. They increased tariffs on Canadian peas. He met the Brits, and they're keeping their blockade on our beef. Why is it that whenever the Prime Minister gets on a plane, Canadians end up paying more tariffs abroad?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Good news for Canadians. Germany just signed a $1 billion deal with Lockheed Martin Canada to support jobs right here in this country. This is what Canadians are getting from the Prime Minister being on the world stage, selling what Canada has to offer. It's about unlocking new markets and creating good jobs here in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
With the Prime Minister billing millions of dollars for his high-flying trips around the world, 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers, now is the time for a scorecard. The Americans have increased tariffs on Canadian autos, aluminum, steel, and lumber. The Indians have increased tariff on our peas. The Chinese increased it on our farmers, our fish harvesters. Now, allow me to introduce a comprehensive list of all the tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully had reduced on Canada.
Boom. Good one. Nice. It's funny.
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader continues to stand against support for Canadian workers and businesses. He has refused to support our government's plan to double non-U.S. exports over the next decade. In fact, he called Canadian exports, other than oil, pixie dust. Does the Conservative leader think our $5 billion in beef exports is pixie dust, or the LNG headed to South Korea from BC? Or what about the $7.6 billion worth of fish and seafood caught by hardworking Canadians? Why there's imaginary taxes or pixie dust, the Conservative leader needs to get on board and out of the way, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, last week, Québécois announced that it will be laying off 80...
That was the best I've seen Pierre Poilievre in a long time. Very spot on for, I don't know if there was 4 rounds that he nailed it. He's amazing. That was great.
Its largest private TV station is on the brink of collapse, and Ottawa is doing nothing. Ottawa prefers to watch our TV station die a slow death. How many more people need to be laid off for this government to wake up? The Honourable Minister of Identity and Canadian Culture. Mr. Speaker, our thoughts go out to families and communities affected by these layoffs. My Bloc Québécois colleagues' question would be more relevant if the Bloc Québécois had not voted for the most significant budget in Canadian history, which, if they had voted for it, they should have voted for it because we have credits to support journalism. They have voted against money for local journalism in Quebec and everywhere in Canada, so it's incomprehensible, Mr. Speaker. It makes no sense. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine how the people at TVA are interpreting the message the Liberals are sending them? The Liberals say, we're making historic investments in culture, but there's not a penny in it for you lot. You lot, you can disappear for all we care. That's the Liberals' message to TVA. And these same Liberals were the only ones who refused to take part in a debate on TVA, which was asking for money because it didn't have any left. TVA broadcasts our music and our stories. TVA sparks discussion and debate. Quebecers identify with TVA, but Ottawa doesn't give a damn. What does Ottawa have against our television? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, in the budget, which the Bloc Québécois voted against, there is $150 million for Radio-Canada CBC, which is the most significant culture producer in Quebec. They voted against it. There's $26 million for the National Film Board, which is in Montreal, Mr. Speaker. They voted against that. There's $127 million for the Media Fund, $48 million for the Music Fund. They voted against all of those initiatives in the budget for culture in Quebec and everywhere in Canada, and that's outrageous, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Drummond. There's nothing for private broadcasters in the budget, though, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, in order to please the almighty American president, the Prime Minister decided to scrap the digital services tax. The revenue from the digital services tax could have been used to create a fund to support the culture and information sector in the long term, with support for TVA, which is in dire need of it. Not only did the Liberals refuse to create such a fund, but they did absolutely nothing to secure the future of private television in Quebec and Canada. Why have the Liberals abandoned private broadcasters? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, just like my colleague who just listed our commitments, my colleague listed our commitments to culture and to the media in our budget, I, like my colleague, don't understand that the Bloc Québécois, they've been calling for ports, they've been calling for quays in Saguenay, landing strips for airports. They want investments in major projects. They want health and housing funding in Quebec. Then what do? They voted against all of that. Why doesn't the Bloc Québécois stand with the Liberals in voting for Quebec and supporting Quebec?
Honourable Member for Calgary East.
Prime Minister's costly credit card budget puts today's reckless spending on tomorrow's taxpayers. He's maxing out Canada's credit card. Watchdogs are exposing the Liberals' accounting tricks. Fitch and the budget watchdogs say Canada's credit score is at risk because the Liberals always break their own made-up fiscal targets. How many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for this Prime Minister to finally rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I got some advice for the leader opposite. He should go back in his lobby and push reboot on Chat CPC, because all it does is rehash the same tired old talking points. Last night, Mr. Speaker, this House passed a generational budget. We're going to invest in infrastructure, in defense and housing. We will transform this country from reliance to resiliency. It's too bad the members opposite didn't support us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
The CRA's a mess under that guy, and he's trying out to be a comedian in here. The budget watchdog exposed the Liberals' shady accounting tricks. He said Liberals have a less than 8% chance of meeting their own fiscal targets that they made up while trying to hide $100 billion under so-called investments. The Prime Minister tried this trick in the UK. He's trying the same trick on Canadians. Instead of cooking the books to hide his $100 billion ego, why doesn't he just rein in his out-of-control, costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, they want to talk about slogans and quoting slogans. They quoted the food professor so much, you think it was the leader's personal chef, serving up the same tired old leftovers time and time again. Last night, we passed a generational budget that will transform this country. It's too bad the party opposite didn't support our budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie South, Innisfil.
every Canadian should be thanking their lucky stars that we have a parliamentary budget officer whose job it is to be independent and honest about the state of government deficits, debts, and spending. The budget watchdog last week called out the creative accounting in the Prime Minister's credit card budget, saying he's using a definition of capital investment that expands beyond the current treatment in public accounts and international practice. In other words, the Prime Minister is cooking the books, and his out-of-control deficit is pouring more gas on the debt and deficit fires. How many more alarms must go off for the Prime Minister to rein in his spending from his credit card budget?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
This budget is a game changer for families across the country, whether it's the school nutrition program, which I know these Conservatives like to talk down, that's feeding hungry mouths in my riding of Thunder Bay Superior North and all across the country, or early learning and childcare program that's reducing fees. Listen to this, Mr. Speaker. ELCC has taken a huge mental and financial load off our family, particularly during these times. That's from a parent, Mr. Speaker. You can't beat that.
Honourable Member for Barrie South Innisfil.
And what's the Liberal response to the interim PBO's warnings? They put him on notice that they'll be looking to replace him with someone who has, quote, tact and discretion. Presumably that means replacing the budget watchdog with someone from the Prime Minister's inner circle of corporate buddies who take their marching orders from him. The independence and oversight of the budget watchdog is designed to call out the deception and raise the alarms to ensure that every MP and Canadian knows when the books are being cooked. Here's a question. Why is it that the watchdogs who are challenging the wolves on this credit card budget being threatened?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, of course there's a well-worn process for appointment of the Parliamentary Budget Officer, which involves consulting with all members of this House, including the Leader of the Opposition. We look forward to the members' feedback on that very important job search.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Lisette-Chemin-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister's credit card budget is a bill that he is passing on to our children. After 10 years of this government, families are struggling and have to put 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards just to get by, Mr. Speaker. Meanwhile, the rating agency Fitch says that federal finances are at a high risk of deterioration because the Liberals are constantly spending beyond their own limits. Will Fitch's opinion convince the Prime Minister to stop his reckless and irresponsible spending? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Mr. Speaker, it's interesting to hear the Conservatives during question period. It's not surprising that Quebecers and Canadians rejected a party leader who spends all his time drafting cute sentences for question period, but doesn't have a real plan to build up Quebec and Canada. We will invest in defense, for example. That will support good jobs at the Davie Shipyard. There will also be investments in Basecamp Connect in Quebec, which manufactures systems for the Canadian Armed Forces. Those are some examples of what the Conservatives voted against yesterday, and it's really unfortunate. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Lisette-Chemin-Lévis. Are they trying to tell us that Fitch and the Parliamentary Budget Officer are liars, Mr. Speaker? In fact, in the Parliamentary Budget Officer's latest report, the PBO confirms that the government has abandoned its key financial limits for reducing debt, and the PBO warns that this directly threatens Canada's credit rating and investor confidence. So, how many more alarming reports from the Parliamentary Budget Office will it take before this Prime Minister finally puts an end to the financial disaster? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's important that we underscore that Canada has the best fiscal situation of all G7 countries, and we have the lowest debt-to-GDP ratio in the G7 as well. We are in a time of great economic change, which calls for ambition and serious work. That's exactly what Budget 2025-2026 does. We're investing in defense. We're investing in productivity, innovation, in the middle class. That's what Budget 2025 is, Mr. Speaker. That's what it's all about.
After 10 years of Liberal deficits, Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on credit cards. Fitch Credit Ratings, the agency that gives the Liberal government its credit score, says the Liberal government is frequently blows through fiscal anchors. On top of this, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is also ringing the alarm bells. Quote, with Budget 2025, the government abandoned the previous fiscal anchor to reduce federal debt-to-GDP ratio over the medium term. My question is, how many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for the Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
That's right.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's look at some facts. I know the party opposite doesn't really like to talk about facts. Best credit rating in the world. Lowest net debt to GDP in the G7. The IMF has projected Canada to have one of the fastest growing economies in the G7. Mr. Speaker, we are laser focused on building the strongest economy in the G7. Mr. Speaker, the party opposite talks slogans and rhetoric and outdated slogans, but Mr. Speaker, we're focused on building the strongest economy. Mr. Focus, we will deliver for Canadians because that's what Canadians expect from a serious government. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Jonquière.
The honourable member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, here's the proof that the budget does not meet Quebecers' needs. Yesterday, the very day the budget passed, the forestry company Arbeck in Amos laid off nearly 100 workers. Yet, just 3 short weeks ago, the forestry industry was in Ottawa to ask for support. Arbeck was there too. The industry urged the federal government to advance them 50% of all future countervailing and anti-dumping duties payable. They also demanded a wage subsidy to avoid having to lay off their workers. The budget ignores the forestry industry, and as a result, what do we have? 100 workers are losing their livelihoods. What is the government waiting for to take action? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for his question. We will always be there for forestry workers. We have a fund which is there just to help businesses. But yesterday, guess what happened? Quebecers voted, the Bloc Québécois voted against projects in Quebec. They voted against expanding the Saguenay port and expanding the Montreal port. They voted against a pavilion for sharks. They're against that. They're against the Florian shipyard. They are against development in Montreal North. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers can't understand what they're doing today. Where was the Bloc Québécois yesterday to support them? The honourable member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, our hearts go out to the 100 Arbeck workers in Amos who have been laid off. The company had no choice. Why? Because Ottawa ignored the needs that the forestry industry and the Bloc Québécois have been insisting on for weeks. A wage subsidy is needed in order to avoid layoffs like these. And for the industry in general, the federal government must advance 50% of the American countervailing and anti-dumping duties. The Liberals did nothing in their budget, and now 100 families have found out that they'll be spending the holidays in financially vulnerable situations. What's the government going to do for these people? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the Bloc Québécois was very busy voting against the budget and against development and projects in Quebec. But we have some news for them, Mr. Speaker. We're already talking to Arbeck. We are already negotiating a line of credit for them. We are here to support them, to help them transition, Mr. Speaker, to help them get through this. The Bloc Québécois, rather than vote against projects for Quebec, they should work with the government so that together we can build our country better and stronger.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's costly credit card budget puts today's reckless spending onto tomorrow's taxpayers. After 10 years of these Liberals, Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards. The Fitch credit rating says that federal finances run a high risk of further deterioration since this government frequently blows through its fiscal anchors. How many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for this Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
Good question. The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, as a proud member from Southern New Brunswick, like the member opposite, I believe in this budget we passed last night. That budget has transformational, generational investments in defense, in infrastructure. There is a $5 billion trade corridor fund that will be an amazing amount of dollars for Port St. John and Port Beldoon. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we listen to Canadians. We believe in our budget. We know our budget will transform Canada. It's too bad the members' office didn't support us last night. I know Canadians stand with us. We will transform.
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, this member knows that his constituents and mine are struggling to make ends meet, and it's this government's reckless spending that's making matters worse. Not only is Fitch credit ratings warning that Canada's economic position is at risk of getting worse, thanks to the Liberals' disregard for sticking to their own fiscal anchors, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is also warning that this deterioration is already taking place, and Canadians are the ones paying the price. It's no wonder that this Prime Minister wants to fire the Parliamentary Budget Officer, because he's actually telling Canadians the truth. And the truth, Mr. Speaker, hurts. So I'll ask again, how many more fiscal watchdog...
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, that member is an experienced member, so experienced, in fact, he was here for that 10-year river of Harper red ink, the biggest budget deficits on record in the history of the country. And it's funny, he wasn't talking about that then. And what he's done now is he's voting against a budget that creates opportunity right throughout Atlantic Canada, right throughout the province of New Brunswick, that creates opportunity for young people in New Brunswick, in energy, in infrastructure. We're going to keep building this country despite that member, his history of red ink, and his negativism.
The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Katiskomik-Témiscouata. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's deficitary budget passes the buck to tomorrow's taxpayers. At the same time, Canadians are stuck with nearly 50% more spending on their credit cards. Fitch, the credit rating agency, has warned that there's a high risk that federal finances will deteriorate further. The PBO adds that borrowing costs will rise. Mr. Speaker, how many more reports from the fiscal watchdog will it take before this Prime Minister stops his irresponsible spending? The Honourable Secretary of State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we're investing to build families and strong communities. Our investment in this budget will create jobs and quality careers for young people. It'll protect the supports that help families advance. At the same time, our government is delivering a budget that will grow Canada and strengthen it. I encourage the members across the aisle to vote in favour of our budget this afternoon.
St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of Liberal mismanagement, Canadian families are putting 50% more of their household bills on credit cards than just 10 short years ago because of Liberal inflationary spending. Fitch rating warns that the government overspending puts finances at high risk of further deterioration. The budget watchdog warns Liberals have abandoned their own debt-to-GDP anchor, which is key to preserving Canada's AAA credit rating. No wonder the Prime Minister, this costly Prime Minister, is trying to fire anyone who can use a calculator in this place. When will the Prime Minister stop maxing out Canada's credit card and get back to basics?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, like his colleague from Fundy Royal, that member would remember very well the time that he served in Prime Minister Harper's office, and they were overrun with credit card spending and government cutbacks. They pretend to be interested in things now like the fight against crime, and they were cutting CBSA officers and underfunding the RCMP. And what did they do yesterday, Mr. Speaker? They voted against investments in his province, in my province of New Brunswick, in infrastructure that'll build the strongest economy. We've got no lessons to take, as the finance minister said, from that member.
No lessons. The Honourable Member for Yorkton Melville.
The Prime Minister's costly credit card budget loads today's reckless spending on tomorrow's taxpayers, while Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards, fearing potential loss of their homes, businesses, and facing the threat of bankruptcy. If only this government was concerned. The warnings from Fitch and the Parliamentary Fiscal Watchdog are ringing alarm bells. Abandoning one fiscal anchor and replacing it with another is already failing to build investor confidence in Canada. How many more fiscal watchdog reports will it take for this Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Yesterday in this House, the Conservative Party voted against Budget 20.
Oh my God, Lisa needs braces. That's a Simpsons reference making fun of this clown Stephanie McLean. She's a troll.
25. They voted against
Not from the top, but the member can continue.
Those conservatives voted against food in schools for children. They voted against an income tax cut for the middle class. They voted against $75 million in apprenticeship training. They voted against a refundable credit for personal support workers. They voted against $45 million to address violence against women, and they voted against crucial support for seniors like the old age security. Mr. Speaker, Canadians want to know who are
The honourable member for Rivière-des-Mille.
No. D'accord, allez-y.
Go ahead.
Speaker, Northern Ontario has a proud mining legacy. We are known across the globe as a mining powerhouse, and we are ready to lead in the clean economy. The Minister of Energy and Natural Resources visited our region last week, where he saw firsthand the real opportunities that Northern Ontario offers to our government's plan to grow our economy. Having major projects from Northern Ontario included on the list sends a clear signal that Northern Ontario is at the centre of Canada's critical mineral future. Can the Minister tell us what this means for the workers and local communities of our region?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for that question. The Crawford mine will help anchor Canada's leadership in clean industrial materials. It will supply high-grade, low-carbon nickel for batteries and green steel, with projected emissions close to 90% lower than the global average, while creating 1,000 direct jobs and 3,000 indirect jobs over the 40-year mine life. This is an example of acting decisively, building stronger, more reliant Canada, and getting projects built faster with the Major Projects Office.
The honourable member for Foothill.
This Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history, and every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pocket of hardworking Canadians, driving up the costs of everything. Food prices are 50% higher than the target rate, and experts have warned the Liberals the industrial carbon tax is driving up the cost, fertilizer, farm equipment, and food. Now, the Liberals like to say this tax is imaginary, but they're increasing their own imaginary tax in the budget. Is that what they tell parents of the 700,000 kids lined up at food bank, as you're imagining things? Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax when food is already unaffordable?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget meets the moment, speeding up national building projects, boosting trade diversification for agri-food and agriculture, for our economy, and those generations he speaks of to come. $150 billion in infrastructure alone in the plan, including trade corridors, agri-marketing, ag stability, clean fuel regulations, biofuel incentives, CFIA funding for digital trade, investments in can export, EDC, global affairs, all for trade diversification and growing agriculture, Mr. Speaker. And Buy Canada plan, Mr. Speaker, that's so important to all our agriculture farmers and ranchers out there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Foothill.
What this budget did was put intergenerational debt on Canadian families. But here's the fact that the minister just ignored entirely. Food inflation in Canada is 40% faster and higher in Canada than is the United States. Canada is the only G7 country where food inflation has actually increased in 4 straight months. We have a record-shattering 2.2 million Canadians forced to a food bank in a single month. Why is the Prime Minister breaking his promise to Canadians, increasing an industrial carbon tax, increasing food costs for Canadians who already can't afford to put food on the table?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all know the Canadian Climate Institute most recent research shows Canada industrial carbon pricing system have essentially no impact on households. Agriculture plays a significant role in their achievement, Mr. Speaker, to lead the G7 nations. We're going to stand alongside our growers, our ranchers, and our farmers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Battleford's Lloydminster.
government, this Liberal government, is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians and drives up the cost of everything. The cost of baby formula has jumped nearly 84% since 2017, and the growing reports of parents going to desperate measures to feed their babies is truly alarming. Yet, when the Liberals had a chance to lower food costs, they chose to increase it. Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to point out when it comes to the budget that Saskatchewan is watching. Saskatchewan is here, Mr. Speaker. For 10 years, those Sask Conservatives have voted against billions of dollars in project commitments and programs that would have helped my home province to move faster and build stronger. They did this just for their petty and immature political games. That ends today, Mr. Speaker, because this Saskatchewan MP is voting for the budget and voting for the interests of Saskatchewan.
The Honourable Member for Battleford, Lloyd-Minster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal budget and those initiatives are not working. Parents are still struggling to afford baby formula under this Liberal government's watch. And now StatsCan is reporting another year-over-year increase of 6% on the price of baby formula. The Liberals had a chance to lower food costs for Canadians by scrapping the industrial carbon tax. But they chose to make food more expensive by increasing it. So I will ask again, why, when so many parents are struggling to feed their babies, is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I know they haven't developed a budget in the last 10 years, so they're a little out of practice, Mr. Speaker. But I'm going to ask them, what part of this budget would they cut? Would it be the RCMP Heritage Project? Would it be the thousands of houses they're going to commit to building in Saskatchewan? Would they shut down the nation-building mine in northern Saskatchewan? The $370 million in biofuels to benefit our canola farmers? Would they vote against $257.6 million for firefighting aircraft? Where would you cut? What would you sacrifice on Saskatchewan's behalf?
Once again, through the chair, please. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix.
Mr. Speaker, I was in Château-Léger last week, and they talked about the industrial carbon tax, which increases the cost of energy, transportation, processing throughout the supply chain. And this leads to a 17% increase in beef prices for these clients. According to StatsCan, orange, apples, fruit juice, and coffee are also up by over 30%. 40% faster prices are rising here than in the U.S. The Honourable Minister of the Environment. Mr. Speaker, perhaps we could start by telling them that the industrial carbon price does not apply to Quebec. So perhaps you could look at this. But not only this, across the country, the price on industrial carbon is not increasing food prices. We have to show that we can continue to fight against climate change and support families across our country, and I hope that they will decide to help families as well. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. There's another tax. That's been invented. That's the carbon tax. And the Liberals had a chance to drive down food prices by eliminating this tax, but they chose to continue to make food even more expensive. At food banks in Quebec, we're seeing families and couples that each have jobs that are showing up to get food because they have to choose between having food, paying their rent, or having gas to drive their cars. It costs an extra 17% per litre every time they go to the pump. How come the Prime Minister is keeping his carbon tax, and continuing to make food more expensive? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, he had the opportunity to vote for a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. Yesterday, he had the opportunity to vote for a school food program for the most vulnerable young people in Quebec. He had the opportunity to vote for investment in housing and infrastructure, in transportation. Yesterday, had the opportunity to invest in defence, to increase the salaries of our CAF members. He voted against, but good news. He can make up for this just after question period, support our Ways and Means motion, and perhaps take a walk behind the curtains like some of his colleagues did.
Southeast. Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history.
The Great
Every
Gazoo.
dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians and is driving up the cost of everything. They could have lowered the food cost by scrapping the plastic packaging tax, which drives up the cost of produce by 34% and costs the average household $400. Instead, the Liberals chose to keep it. Why is the Prime Minister keeping this packaging tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, why does the member opposite keep on choosing to make things up? There is no plastic packaging tax. Terrible. Do you want me to repeat it for him, please? There is no plastic packaging tax. I wish that they would look at the facts, and I wish that they would work with us to continue to work for Canadians.
Mary Simon looks funny today.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberals spend comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Senior Liberal appointee Pierre nearly doubled his former travel budget to allow him to spend thousands of dollars on unnecessary limo rides. Instead of asking young Canadians to sacrifice their future, why doesn't the Prime Minister ask one of his top bureaucrats to maybe sacrifice a limo ride here or there? Here.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, what this government is doing is spending less so we can invest more. We've invested $60 billion in the first tranche of major projects, $57 billion in this. This is creating jobs and making Canada stronger, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
We hear that tired line from this government and the previous one. Canadians have never had it so good. But the reality is Canadians are struggling, families are struggling, workers are struggling. And yet this government keeps defending the indefensible. While Canadians are lined up in record number at the food banks, Liberal bureaucrats are living the Liberal life of luxury. Will this government take any disciplinary action against this individual? Maybe even curtail his travel budget?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, that agency is an independent agency. It does good work. It is helping us build a nuclear future for this country. We are building at Darlington. We are building at Pickering. We are building at Bruce. Mr. Speaker, we are building Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Compton-Stanstead. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In regions, as we see in the eastern townships, we have media, local media, and francophone cultural institutes that allow us to live our culture. Today, in a digital world and globalization, our way of consuming culture is evolving. I'd like to ask the Minister of Culture and Canadian Identity how the government will protect and promote our diversity and cultural wealth. That is our strength. The Honourable Minister of Identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. In the face of global uncertainty, it is essential that we protect our cultural sovereignty and identity. And that's why, as part of our budget, we're investing historical amounts in cultural and identity, with $38 million for local media across our country. Our government is making a strategic choice to strengthen our cultural sector and our media sector with millions in CBC Radio Canada and $65 billion this represents in GDP and nearly 670,000 jobs. We're investing in our future and preserving the stories told by Canadians.
For Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, extortions are out of control, up 330% across Canada and nearly 360% in Ontario since 2015. 2 weeks ago, a home in Windsor got sprayed with bullets in an extortion attack. As a former police officer, I know criminals are taking advantage of our weak bail laws and lack of tools for law enforcement. Canadians deserve safety, not excuses, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals get serious and support our concerted plan to crack down on rampant extortion and protect our communities. For God's sake, do something.
Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we take extortion very seriously in Canada.
Right.
Extortion with a firearm carries a maximum sentence of life in prison, Mr. Speaker. But you know what? These extortionists think they're not going to get caught, and you know that's why that is, because we haven't given law enforcement the tools they need to catch extortionists. And those tools are in our C2 bill, Mr. Speaker, but except the Conservatives do not agree with that bill, and they will not give our police lawful access tools in order to catch these extortionists, so they know they're going to get away with it.
The honourable member for Cloverdale Langley City.
At a time when Canadians are being terrorized in their own neighbourhoods, our globe-trotting Prime Minister jet-setted into BC for a carefree stroll down the White Rock Pier. A stroll while families in Surrey are barricading their doors. A stroll while homes and businesses are being shot up for the second and third time. A stroll while a sunset stroll while gangs tell victims, give us 5 more names to extort or you're next. It's mind-boggling that he flew out to crack jokes on the pier instead of tackle extortion. Why won't they support the Conservative plan to crack down on extortion crisis?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have no plan. If they had a plan, they would support C-14. In C-14, we make sentencing for extortionists consecutive. C-14 also makes it harder for extortionists to get bail, Mr. Speaker. That's why it's so important that they support these measures. It's so important that they support C2. But, Mr. Speaker, I think they don't support it because that would mess up their fundraising plans.
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, CTV just reported an extortion-related shooting in Abbotsford. In BC, entire communities are living in fear as extortion has exploded nearly 500%. This is unacceptable and an indictment on this soft-on-crime, hug-a-thug Liberal government. Right. Conservatives are providing solutions. The Liberals are silent. Just this morning, our Conservative leader requested emergency debate on extortion. The Liberals shot it down. When will the Liberals take this seriously and not give empty platitudes?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, just because my colleague doesn't read the legislation the government puts on the floor of the House of Commons doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I would invite him to read Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Act, which makes it difficult for people who are charged with violent extortion to be released on bail. I invite him to read Bill C-2, the Strong Borders Act, which gives tools around lawful access to law enforcement to actually catch the guys who would commit extortion before it impacts people in his communities. If he wants to reduce the temperature of this House, work across partisan lines, there is something he can do. He can vote for these bills to crack down on extortion, or he can continue to make partisan hay out of it.
The honourable member for Mont-Saint-Bruno-L'Acadie. Mr. Speaker, as a young person who has benefited from a summer job,
Sean Fraser looks like one of those like blow-up dolls that they use in front of used car parking lots. Like the arms just dangling all skinny. He's pathetic.
The Honourable Secretary of State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member for Mont-Saint-Bruno is an excellent example of how Canada Summer Jobs helps young people to succeed. It supports well-paid seasonal jobs that allows young people to gain skills and workforce experience. Next summer, we'll be supporting approximately 100,000 summer jobs for young people, and together we'll be supporting more than 75,000 jobs, and we'll be building a strong Canada.
Member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, extortion is up 330% across Canada since 2015. This is a national crisis. Yet again, the Liberals refused an emergency debate. In Peel, police charged a man in two shootings in Brampton and Caledon linked to organized crime. Extortion cases are skyrocketing. Communities are afraid.
Families are worried. Businesses are being targeted. Conservatives have a plan to stop this surge. When will the Liberals finally act and support our Conservative plan to crack down on Canada's rampant extortion crisis?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, what is the Conservative plan? We heard it in the House earlier today. It's to stall our legislation, Mr. Speaker. We've brought C2, we've brought C12 and C14, all measures that will help in these types of crimes, Mr. Speaker. It'll give them tougher sentences. It'll make it harder for them to get bail. But they don't want to support real solutions, Mr. Speaker. They just want to delay, they want to cut, and they want to fundraise for their own personal means, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Last year, this Parliament passed legislation to deliver diabetes and contraceptive medications to every Canadian through our public health care system. This is vital to millions of people's health and the foundation of universal pharmacare. Liberals promised Canadians in Budget 2025 they would protect pharmacare, but they didn't allocate any money to it. No. Will the Prime Minister clearly confirm that he will keep his word and make funding available to every province and territory who wants to sign a pharmacare agreement with the federal government?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Speaker, I want to thank
the
member of the opposition for his
put
question.
curses on us.
There is a lot of noise.
She's going to put curses on all of us. Stabbing.
And I would ask the member to start her answer again, please. From the top.
I can.
Shit.
So our government will always protect Canada's healthcare system, including pharmacare and dental care. These are clear commitments, and we will keep them. I am having conversation with all provinces and territories to see how we can best support them to strengthen our healthcare system, including on pharmacare. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
The Inuit rely on hunting and trapping in a harsh environment. Nunavut is vast with over 45,000 kilometers of coastline with no search and rescue base. When Nunavut Mill are in trouble, they must wait for help from Halifax over 2,000 kilometers away. Nunavut needs a centrally located search and rescue in Sanirayak. Will this government do that or continue to keep Inuit at risk of losing their lives while they are out on the land?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Secretary of State for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 makes historic investments with the new $1 billion Arctic Infrastructure Fund. This is designed to strengthen airports, seaports, and all-season roads, which are critical lifelines for search and rescue. By improving northern transportation and communications infrastructure, the budget directly enhances the safety of the North. It's ensuring faster response times and better coordination when emergencies occur on land, sea, or ice. So these are the investments that reflect our commitment to equity, reconciliation, and protecting the lives in Canada's North.
Hear, hear. Before we proceed, I would just like to mention that it is not permitted to take pictures in the House. I didn't see any of that going on today, but yesterday I saw members and others saw members.
All right, gang, we're wrapping up. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching it here. I believe we've got the most engaging, fun chat room going for these shows. Like, I know it's important to watch Canadian federal politics, but we try to have a little bit of fun here. It is frustrating to watch because, like, they're lying right to you all the time. It's really a gong show. Anyhow, I appreciate everybody that comes in here. This chat room does crack me up on a daily basis. As we learn about Canadian federal politics, we're trying to share what I see and learn to you through YouTube. There's other platforms out here. I'm choosing this one, and we're going to get through to some new people. Like, And if we don't, in the meantime, it's fun to hang out together to watch the Gong Show every day. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. To the new viewers, come back. We're here tomorrow, same time, same place. I do a live pre-show before the question period. We slip right into it. We don't miss a beat. But there are many other things that go on in the House of Commons that people miss. They tend to focus on the pageant that is question period, but there's so many more entertaining, actually, and insightful pieces that go on there. The committee meetings very often are quite interesting. I know we showed pieces today and yesterday that were from committees, and they're awesome. I mean, it's entertaining and informative. However, that's it. We're going to wrap up. Aaron, Kennedy, and Looney, thank you all so much for watching. We are back tomorrow, same time, same place, and that is it. It's great to see everybody. Again, this chat room does crack me up. I enjoy that. And I know you're critical thinkers. If you're being funny, you're a critical thinker, and this crowd is very, very funny. So I very much enjoy that. Anyhow, we'll wrap up as we do. It's a Gong Show out there, kids.
You should do exercises. That's important to our good health. And friends, tomorrow we are going to be visiting with a fisherman who will tell us about his very enjoyable hobby. Now, I would like to see you all through our magic mirror. Romper, bumper, stomper, boo, tell me, do. Magic mirror, please tell me today, did all of my friends have fun at play? I see all of my friends in Alberta. It's nice to see you. And I see Dan and Vivian. I see Marlon and Mona. I see Catherine and Harley. I see Anne and Elizabeth and Jane. I see Bert and Nicole, and I see you too. I hope to see you tomorrow, right here in Romper Room.
Ding dong, knock, knock, hey, daddy, do. Bing bong, tick tock, bebop, boom.
Kick off your weekend with exciting CFL action when the Edmonton Eskimos tackle the BC Lions in Vancouver. Tomorrow night at 10:30 on CFTO TV.
Ding dong, knock, knock, hey, daddy, do. Tip tap, pitter pat, granny cat too. Root-a-toot,
Like, share, subscribe. Come back, get notified for the live shows. That's it. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the best audience, I assure you. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.